All right, here I am. Reinier, Kate, thank you so much for being on the show. I appreciate it.
Very welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Off the air, as they say, I don't know what that means, but before this was official, we were just discussing how long it's been. And so it's been like 4 years. Because if you have not already, folks, I have Reinier's origin story, episode 65 of the podcast. Go to fasdsuccess.com/podcast and you just go episode 65, you get it. And you'll hear Reinier's origin story and it's amazing, great insight. But today we're going to talk more about relationships. So it's been a long time, brother. Here's where I'm going to start. So last we left off, you were a Kingston boy, right? Probably the second, third, I'd say it goes Gord Downey, Don Cherry, you?
I think I'm above Don. No offense to Don.
Okay, so above Don Cherry. And so for our international and American friends, just Google that. You'll know what we see. So you're a valued export. No, but real dude, cut me in there. And how did you get to Nova Scotia? Why'd you move there?
A part of it was because my life was just really starting to rocket just around the time we last chatted when we did the podcast. And I just gotten my creative directorship at the business. I was working with my business partner. We had a couple staff members. I'm actually finally, so many people are desperately trying to get to their first $1 million. I'd spent most of my life trying to get to my first zero, and I've far surpassed that and was on the way up, and had just moved to a new residence in Kingston, closer to my business. And then that crazy thing called a pandemic happened. And that certainly was a little bit of a solid shaking of my snow globe world or life. And that time, it's funny, there was a definitive fault line in my life right there, fault being a crack, not necessarily that there's anything to blame. But at that point, everything just stopped in my life. Literally, the business stopped. We did a lot of video production, so nobody wanted to see clients with masks on face.
You did for me. You did it for me. Video production for me. It was awesome. Remember on your birthday?
Yes, it was on my birthday.
Birthday cake?
And they sang happy birthday to me.
Yeah, fun because you're a good dude, right? And so I remember and the pandemic. And then do you think it was more time to think? And do you think you spent more time there? Because you certainly were more creative, it seemed, on social media. You were doing the songs. And were you masking or generally enjoying, trying to stay sane?
It's funny because the whole masking thing's interesting for me, which is I tend to express happiness and everything when I'm happy and everything. And I don't tend to hold, how do you put it? I don't dramatize the darker, let's call it the shadow side, but I don't also hide it. People tend to know where I'm at. People who actually are paying attention to me. But during that first part of the pandemic, there was this kind of, because in my mind, it's, this is going to be a month long. But gee, a month, get out of jail free card. I don't have to go to work. So creatively, there's that little part, like many creative people during the pandemic, there was like, this opening kind of idea. I'm going to use this. I'm going to make some lemonade out of this lemon. But it was counteracted with example, my landlady lived with us, a wonderful person, but she's like hitting her 90s. And so you're wiping doorknobs with Clorox wipes every 5 seconds. Again, am I going to kill them if I forget to do it?
Yeah.
So it was a weird time.
It was a weird time.
Yeah. So there was an openness and availability, but there was also underlying layer of survival and fear, which sometimes can drive creativity. It's not my favorite way to be inspired.
So the longer it goes on, we need to do things. They're like for the business, you have to make some decisions. And how did the decision become, okay, let's go to Nova Scotia?
So what happens is a big
neat thing. Stage left or what?
Not quite. The neat thing.
That's just a little hint. What do they call that in the story? A little tease. Okay, keep going.
A little tease. But what happened, here's the little tease, which is I met a woman in the middle of a pandemic. And part of that, it was real short story was one way, I'm a fairly social person.
No.
The pandemic was, it's true. I know some of this will shock the listeners. But so the pandemic was tricky from that aspect as well. But we had a kayak rental on the shores of Lake Ontario, 2 blocks from where I was living in Kingston. And what me and my housemate, we realized you could go out in a kayak, and it's very easy to social distance in a kayak because you shouldn't really be within 6 feet of other kayaks. So slowly a little group formed there, and that was how we kept ourselves mentally going. We also got exercise. But at one point, and I would post on Facebook on my main feed,
Yep.
the adventures. I didn't realize, but a certain woman was out in the world who happened to be one of my Facebook friends. Click, and
Creeping you.
you can talk
Oh.
to her. When you meet her, oh, she's here.
Oh.
She's in the room.
Okay, I want both sides because there's both sides to every
Yeah,
story.
Kate can take over from here.
No, I want to see. You're going to tell me up until you meet her.
At this point, there's our little group was about 6 or maybe 8 people, but now it's been going on for 3 or 4 months in the summer. And we're getting tired of each other in the sense of, God, we want more people. So we realized it was a safe situation. So I just posted on my timeline, hey, Kingston friends, this is what we've been doing. And if you're around next Wednesday, we're having an open day of kayaking for whoever wants to come down and join us.
Ah, I see what goes.
Someone came down and joined us.
Okay.
Over to
Okay, Kate. So is it true? Is this claim of internet stalking or creeping on whatever scale you want to
your
call it?
words, Jeff.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
It's just awesome. It's nice to chat with you. Yeah, so give me that story. Like, how'd you guys become friends? Like through friends of friends, like just how Facebook does?
I'm going to jump in here because
She's like, I defend myself.
I defend, but actually it was a kind of an interesting segue. As Reinier said, the kayaking thing was really when we first met in person, but we had been Facebook friends for 5 years.
Yeah.
And how we became friends was simply a post that Reinier had met that was this open-hearted dialogue about what it felt like to be in his body. And this emotional bill of how when you greet people and how are you doing? And people just go, oh yeah, I'm great, or I'm good. And Reinier just spoke from his heart. And so we had mutual friends on Facebook, and it was this open public post that he made that I went, oh my gosh, who is this person?
Oh, I see.
But Reinier added me as a friend. And so I went, okay, because that in true Reinier style. And he's just, oh, someone liked my post.
Yeah, that is not weird. No, it's not.
So we became friends, and you mentioned, Jeff, about his creativity during COVID.
Yeah.
It was amazing, as Reinier would just post all these amazing pieces and really talk about how it felt to be isolated during COVID and how he was using his creative time. And of course, I was like, this person's very interesting, but never took it from anything from that point. And so that day that we went kayaking, I brought 2 of my friends and we just went down for a kayak. But it's soon we met. And we realized, wow. And we hugged each other. It was like we were in a completely different world. In fact, so much so that I left my friends behind, which was not my style at all. And we were just chatting and just talking, and we were in a completely different world.
Yeah, I can see that because Reinier, your openness and could almost be taken as like cockiness, right? If you don't know you. And so I get where you're like, who speaks of themselves like this, like that. And then when you, Kate, know it's from a genuine place, you're like, yeah, me too. We love you, buddy. That's what makes you, because it's not full of shit, right? I love your language. I think one time I was like, how you doing? You're like, dancing in the cosmos, buddy. And I was like, I want to go there too, dude. And you weren't saying it like a space cadet. You were just like, I like Kate, how he explains things. Okay, did you have the same interaction, man, with the hug? Was it like
the hug? I think if I remember it correctly in my mind,
you do.
In my mind's theater, it's, whenever you've seen a movie and the couple come in and they finally are going, kiss, what, damn it. And we do the hug. And that's when the camera does the around us. We're hugging. And the vastness of Lake Ontario and the wonder of Kingston, Ontario swirls in the background as we hug. It's
you should know that. You're in film.
Oh, you guys know the shots.
Yeah.
Okay. The spinning shot for sure.
Yeah. And there's certain times, and I think this has helped me get through my life. There's definitive moments where, and I will use the word, my heart or one's heart knows this is a real moment. Be here. And I know there's probably a lot of people that they never hear that little voice in there, but I've been blessed enough to find that voice. And that hug was one of those moments, which is be here. When it was, and I think, and Kate will correct me if I'm not right, but I think similar things happened to her in that instance. So you're both fully there in that moment. So you really experience this is a special moment. So pay attention, because life is going to come out from this moment into a whole bunch of things you may never have expected.
Don't screw this up, Reinier.
That's
I
the
got
voice of I'm
Rain
not
Man.
careful.
Okay,
Because-
because there's weight
Yeah.
to that, right?
Yeah,
There's weight
it
to
only-
that. And you can listen to the other podcast. And it's not when you say you found a girl, dude, I hope I look like you when I'm your age. And that just is holy shit. People, Kate, do they still do that when he squeaks out how old he is and people go F off? Yeah, they're mad at me. They're mad at me.
You tell me to F off before I get to telling you.
Okay, so that's never been the issue, right? You talk about your before journey, why that sort of things were an issue. What I want to talk about is now where you are, who you are now, because that's where who you were before. And you were later when you got a diagnosis as well. So of course, this is the FASD show. So we want to talk about relationship. And I know everybody's experience is different, but if we look at it just through a neurological lens as well as emotional, did you know, Kate, had he just, I don't know if you disclosed on openly, Kate, or when you started creeping him, did you know FASD? I'm just kidding. I'm just
Never gonna let
I
this
just
down.
kidding.
And I'm really
I'm honest, you're like, oh, now there's two of you. Yeah, that's
Jeff, to
okay.
be
No,
clear,
no,
we were co-creeping.
yeah.
that's fair. I love it. I love that. Okay. Did he disclose? Did you know FASD?
Jeff, in true FASD style, after the hug, literally that afternoon, Reinier sent me a message going, here's all my details, which is all his websites
Yeah.
that were associated with them.
Yeah.
Can we have coffee, lunch, or dinner? It was just, there was no kind of holding back. We just went right at it.
And
And
you're shooting your shot, right?
yeah, here you go. Here's me. But so I should back up. So yes, I had done the research as far as I'd watched the videos. I understood. I had Googled FASD because I didn't really understand FASD or FAS, whichever the listeners call it. But I kept looking at who this person was in front of me. And I was like, okay, this doesn't really match up until you get into the relationship and you start seeing the evolution of who this being is in his wholeness of who he is. Not just this really good looking man who comes in with his comedian silliness demeanor. And
guitar guy, keyboard guy, video guy, insight guy, because he knows all the language from all the workshops and the things. And he'll tell you what part he believes in, and he'll tell you the ridiculous stuff. But that's, as a younger, because he's older than me, that's the honesty is appreciative, right?
Well, especially with FASD.
Yeah.
That's just it. I think that the thing is that A, I knew going in, but B, I think anyone who is in a new relationship is still on low land and
there's infatuation, there's some
absolutely.
dopamine,
Yeah.
oxytocin is ripping, and that's the honeymoon period.
Absolutely.
If an individual gets adopted or they go to a new placement, everyone's on their best behavior.
Yeah, I was going to say, whether you're in a neurotypical relationship or not, falling in love is easy, enduring in love is hard.
Yeah.
And it's work. And
Yes.
yeah, so I wasn't afraid of the hard work.
Come from divorce.
I'd been married for 25 years. So I really had lived alone for probably 4 years before Reinier and I met.
Okay.
I had dated and so the work wasn't the issue for me. It was more paying attention to how I could be a support, but also how do you do this in relationship? And yeah, I think again, he was very honest. My friends were very worried. As soon as everyone meets Reinier and falls in love with Reinier, and just
and there's always that guy. Then why isn't he at least been married like that's married like that? Like why is
Seriously, why is he not a millionaire with your talents and your good look? I don't understand why you're still
Reinier on? And we're on YouTube too, folks. So people are gonna be like, "What's this dude look like?" So anyway, keep going.
Yeah, so I didn't really see the initial stuff till a little bit later on. But what I would say is the essence of Reinier is love, and which I think a lot of FASD
Agreed.
individuals have.
That was well said. Do you think you had a presupposition because in your job you work with artists, like you were saying, artistic, and so he's You know,
Yeah.
was that like, I know you, like in that way? I guess I'm making assumptions about your client, like who you worked as a communications, but I imagine you were in the creative space.
Yeah. As we know, everyone is on a spectrum of some sort. And so it's figuring out which spectrum you're on. I had, I guess, been aware of Asperger's in the past. And then I had a family member with a brain aneurysm. So I kind of understood
Sure.
parts of the brain. So I understood the seriousness of FASD. I think that was the key thing. But I also was like, this person isn't acting in this checklist. Like the lie,
Yeah.
I guess lying, intimacy stuff, all that was just not Reinier. Reinier is
Yeah.
this really loving, compassionate,
Like it's not the
sensitive.
attachment things you're reading that they struggled with. He's the
Yeah.
opposite. Yeah.
Yeah. But there was anxious attachment, which Reinier had done a bit of work on.
Yeah.
And I think because both of us had done a lot of work in relationship, once we met, we had been to a place where Reinier had a diagnosis. So we knew who he was.
That's fair.
He knew what didn't work in past relationships. And so did I. So we both met each other, as you do, with trust and vulnerability, which you have to do. I think in any FASD success story, you have to be transparent about FASD right from the beginning. You can't hide that, because soon afterwards, I did start to witness things that weren't. I had to remind myself that actually this dysregulation is who he is. And sometimes it can be dysregulating for me. And so I had to find a path and a balance to that, and so did he.
Okay. Now this is cool. Thank you for opening that door. Now, because we just set you up how awesome you are, right? Now we're going to talk about the other side, but not really. Here's what I want to talk about this. I think what you're touching on is a little bit of that emotional labor, that the hidden emotional labor with having to respond to what is a symptom of his, not a willful behavior and dysregulation, catching yourself when you become dysregulated, and to be able to still have your own self-regulation because you've been working on that as well. And then once you have a clear mind to remind yourself, empathize, right? The best you can. And sometimes you need a walk. Sometimes you say F off and then you walk, right? But at the end of the day, when it comes back in love. So here's what I want. Like when communication goes sideways, when we're feeling dysregulated, it doesn't matter who started it, honestly. What do you do now, Reinier, that might have been different from the past? Like what lessons learned, skills developed? Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like how, when it goes sideways or it starts to, how do we deal with that?
Well, part of the challenge for me in that is I spend a lot of internal, and I will say processing power, although it's not necessarily mental. It involves the heart, which is a different thinking mechanism in myself, I assume with everybody. So in other words, if I'm pissed about something, I don't immediately go, oh, I shouldn't be pissed. Being pissed isn't good. It's not, I've got to go, is there something going on here? Yes. Now, what is it really? And what am I pissed at the person? Really? Am I pissed at a behavior, which is almost always the case? Is it because there's something lacking in me and this is bringing that up? So now I'm actually pissed at myself.
But if you're standing, sorry to interrupt, sir. If you're standing in front of her, are you going through this, looking at her, or do you excuse
is
yourself?
going on, Jeff. This is
like the narrative, right?
Times a day. Yeah.
And
it's
B-roll.
not just Kate, to be clear. This is with every situation I'm in constantly. It is exhausting, and I forget that I'm doing it sometimes. But if I actually take a breath for a second, there is a process that I've done my best to do. The old way of saying it was the external brain. I've had to do that for myself for so much of my life. I do have a certain ability to do it. It doesn't mean I do it accurately. It doesn't mean I do it fast enough sometimes, and my mouth is in motion before that whole process is completed.
It sounds like some co-regulation. So tell me, because here's what parents are thinking, like they fear that their kiddo gets into a relationship, and how do you prevent conflicts from escalating? Because you're right, it's okay to be mad, it's okay to do that, but it's when dysregulation causes arousal, cortisol over your stress system, and it blocks access to your ability to think straight, rationalize, and that's why limbic system. What is the dance there? What happens? You move through it or move past it. So it doesn't get to the point of, okay, now I'm straight up fight or flight.
Yeah. I think a lot of it, there's a level of, there's a conscious detachment. That's not quite the right phrase, but there's this, there's a shutdown without being unpresent. It's continue to listen, and I give myself permission. I don't need to respond right now. But it's true. I could just say, "Oh, F it," and head out for a walk. But then there's no more communicating. I'm back into being out there with my head dealing with it.
Yeah.
So I think, and Kate can step in on this, but I try to stay in the stew pot if I can to find out what meal's being cooked at the moment, if that makes any sense.
Not just you.
So is this part of attachment to, at this point, Reinier, like now, because you feel safe with her? But I was wondering if there was any during that attachment, or was that straight up bond hug, like an imprint almost?
And this is part of me, and it may not have anything to do with FASD, because I've also got, I'm also a human man, and I have all the shit that anybody would have. But
sure.
Yeah. And so part of that is because you have that amazing hug with the spinning cameras and the violin music, I also know what I can lose. So when you know what's wonderful, I have absolute faith in life that it doesn't always let you keep things. And beyond one's total control, forget about my personality, whatever, anything can happen at any time. So in those moments when Kate and I are in this kind of out of alignment, and we're trying to find out how to, if we can't be aligned, how can we feel, again, that truth of the hug?
So what do
how
you
to
do?
hold both those things.
Kate, as his translator, what do you, that's because exactly what you are. And that's why you smiled, because you are a communications manager. I know what he's talking about, because watching Star Trek, you get it, where he's going. But what does that mean to you? Because so when he's pissed, or that it's not going his way, or he didn't sleep, or he didn't eat, he's angry. Like, how do you prevent that from going further?
Yeah. Firstly, I would say normal couple for normal is
everyone knows that, Kate. Everyone
emotion.
knows that.
Not
They
perfect.
want to know FAS, right? So we understand the human first, but because they're like, okay, how does my kid, like, how do you do that? Because what if they're coaching their kid's girlfriend?
And they should.
So that's
really good.
so that's where I'm coming from. So we all have a presupposition that everybody's different. Okay, girl, I know you are such a communications man. We're having a combo here too, right? So good for you, though. You're good at your job. Yeah.
No,
But he's
I would
pissed.
say a couple of things. When I first noticed the difference in Rain was attachment styles, in that if I was setting boundaries about time away from myself when we first started dating, it would be very distressing for Rain. He'd sometimes show up at my house, but in that moment I realized too that the only thing he needed was just certainty that everything was okay.
Clarity, concrete clarity.
Concrete thinking, absolutely.
Yeah. So we're good. You just need space.
Yeah, I'm
So
just
even
being, yeah. So that was started out really early on, and I know how important it's. Actually amazing that it started with a hug, because I know how important a hug is to Reinier.
Yeah, for sure.
Just sometimes holding close and staying held in moments where, or me being really clear that, you know what, we're having an argument and I'm not really happy at the moment. And I'd like to say that I use this really lovely voice at that time, but I don't. But I look at him and go, this doesn't mean anything's over. No one has to go anywhere.
Labeling like that you need space, but it's not like the attachment. You'll be back. Like,
yeah. And also too, just there were times where Rain anything new, like a new situation, and Reinier can have an explosive moment. Other people have those explosive moments too, but his explosive moments is he doesn't want to be there in that moment. He doesn't want me to see him that way, and he doesn't know what to do. And I think that's why it is important that parents coach partners to say
shame intensity.
Yeah, is that
that's what you're seeing, right? And then wanting to be there, putting on a good face, and you can see the distress in their eyes. And so it's all about how do I help them back out with dignity?
Yeah.
And see, yeah, let's get out of here.
Well,
Without them. Sorry,
yeah,
go ahead, Reinier.
I was going to say a key thing, we're going back in the file here a bit, but when you asked about a lot has happened since you and I had our last chat, when you asked about how did I get out to Nova Scotia from Ontario. So Kate just mentioned something about when things shift and change, it can get stressful for me. And so if you put those two things together, there's been a lot of changes in the last 3 years to get from Ontario and my life out there to my life with Kate, and to get our life and our 2 wonderful dogs out to Nova Scotia and buy my first house at 65 years old with Kate.
Oh my God.
So I'm saying there's been a lot of, sometimes
Yeah.
for the FASD thing it's motion sickness half the time. It's literally motion sickness. It's, geez, world, stay still.
Yeah, because
Give me a week. Give me
yeah.
a week with the same things going on every day, please.
Yeah, not changing. Let me breathe. Structure provides predictability, which reduces anxiety. That's just the way it goes. But I could see how, I bet you there's relationships in the past that you thought everything was cool, and then all of a sudden you get the boundary text, and then they leave because maybe you didn't see what was up, and then you go there because she means that much. She sees it. I just need to communicate better. Oh, and you're like, because you're a rational man, you're like, okay, I got it.
Yeah.
Comes back,
And then I do
and
my
then you
best to do it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, and that's
even
yeah.
I found sometimes life takes practice sometimes. So even once, and again, Kate can speak for herself, but for me, a lot of the times I know what is the appropriate action that I need to do, and I cannot, but I'm also up against that, again, that part that's going, this sounds weird, but is this the FASD brain? Is this my heart talking? Is this them trying to sort it out? Is this my healthy brain trying to, and again, so a lot of the times I process really fast, but there's so much going on. I can seem slow, if that makes sense too.
Yeah, no, because it's bumping against your nervous system, your history, your circadian rhythm, and part of the disability is not only structurally, but nervous system wise. And dude, you're no spring chicken, man. And we've all had things.
What?
I know you look good. See, I wasn't going to say your age, dude.
I'm going on a chicken.
You know
and
what you
spring.
look like, dude? You look like you're ready to go on tour with like Def Leppard or something. That's
yeah, I do have
like,
Def
no,
Leppard
you look with the earring. You look like, you know what I'm saying, Kate? He's about to go off the stage and do some festival. That's what you look like, dude. You look like a drummer or some shit. Like, it looks cool. Okay, but here's the point. Here's the point. So Kate's figuring it out. People want to know, okay, what was some of the things you also noticed, okay, in terms of the concreteness, some of that other, like how you could see that maybe this was him being neurospicy, and how, because the parents want to hear it, right? Like,
yeah.
and
I'm
Reinier,
writing
they're
that
so
down.
stoked to hear that you're 65 or when did you buy your house anyways? Because if parents are struggling and their kids are in their 40s, this is music to their ears. No.
Well, I was going to say, I think speaking to those parents, hang on tighter and educate partners that are there, because I think, again, as new partners come in, it's easy for a parent to say, oh, here are the things you're going to have to look out for. And the person just closes their eyes and doesn't pay attention. But I think the other thing is that I'd like to point out is I don't want to be Rainier's caregiver, and I'm his partner. And
Right.
so there was a really important time where I needed to check myself. And that was early on too, where he had invited me to an FASD event, and I'm surrounded by parents of FASD children, and I'm watching Rainier's time and making sure he's doing this. And I don't want to be that person. I want my partner.
Just to watch
So,
him.
and so he doesn't want me being his mom.
It's like parents want to parent. They don't want to be the
Yeah.
caseworker, the social worker, the employment officer. Okay, you answered the question I was going to ask. Like, how do you balance your instinct to help versus giving Reinier space to be independent and to keep your boundaries with not being a caregiver, to enjoy your role as his partner?
I think Reinier would say that my righteousness is absolutely there and present. Because I guess, as every FASD person or family member knows, your eyes are always on. So there is a time where I absolutely certainly check myself, and he'll check me if I am being too cautious about new situations.
Like
or
an
too
environment,
cautious about-
right? Because you
Yeah.
care, right? And the intensity of your accommodation or hypervigilance depends on if he's eaten, slept, whether he knows it or not. Like when we're with individuals on the spectrum, that's because we love you. So it can look like mothering or it's accommodating, right? So yeah, I'll push back on him a little bit, like, because he doesn't, you get it, he doesn't. In that respect, in terms of, I need to, if people are calling you a helicopter spouse, then, you're doing it right. And there's nothing wrong with loving him and being nervous to going into a situation and wanting the best for him. So that's why I was asking you the balance. When do you check your,
And I see Rain has his hand up too.
I know.
I was going to say, I just
there.
wanted to say the other thing to your question about how does Reinier regulate? I watch him. It's the braveness in how he has such courage, because there are times where he may want to react. I can feel I pushed too much, like in a normal argument or a normal request, or I've given him a list of honey to-do list that you would give any partner, but
the eyes go big and
Yeah.
then the dignity part. Yep.
and I'll watch him and he will remove himself. He'll either go for a drive or he will just sit. He will sit and I watch him process it in the wholeness of his body. And gives me a minute to take a minute and realize that I need to find my compassion and love in this moment too. I would say he's better at it than I am at it.
Yeah, because he's had to fit in
Yeah.
with normies for so long. But the reason why we're talking about you right in front of you, and we know
I'm in the room. I'm right
I
here.
am curious because I love you, but I'm also curious, right, Reinier? So it's like I'm talking to your partner for the first time, and I have all these caregivers behind me saying, "Ask her this." That's where that comes from, right? It's not you're here. Yes, sir. The floor is yours.
So a key part of everything you've just been talking on the last bit, both of you, is, and this is part of my frustration, and it's unique to me, not because I'm special, but because the fact is I haven't met a lot of folks who were diagnosed with FASD at 56 years old.
Yeah.
So there's an important thing that, and this happens sometimes with Kate, I'll get that. And again, the word mothering, I'm not saying in a negative way, that's the term we use, but
yeah.
there's times where, I don't want to be mothered. But there's times when the mothering's happening. But the thing is, in my experience for 56 years of my life, I've handled it that way. You may not agree and think, I need to step in to support on that. But that's just the way I did it as my apparent neurotypical self would do.
Yeah, I agree. That is you're a human first. Totally.
Yeah. So I guess what I'm saying is there's at times where in a partner, and Kate is an awesome partner, her passion for our relationship is only slightly smaller than mine. And the thing is, though, there are times where, and it's not just Kate, I've tried to be honest with all my friends, and I don't live from the FASD as the drama of my story, but you should know this is part of my build. This is my hardware.
Yeah. And the name of the podcast.
Yes, there you go, buddy. And the thing is, so for me, there's times where I feel you, and not just Kate, but it could be even you, Jeff Noble, but it's like you're projecting your understanding of FASD onto me right now. Actually, this is just me being a dickhead right now. Yeah. This isn't FASD dickhead. This is just Reinier being Reinier.
No, we're just talking. I agreed. So that's why that's why neither of us are reacting to your statements.
You're so awesome.
But it's the truth.
But I'm saying this is part of the frustration I feel for Kate sometimes because, again, I've had 56 years of understanding how I work. I have now the new data of understanding how I'm built, what happened at birth and whatever. So I understand some of the mechanisms that, again, and from my past story, part of that has allowed me to be this very interesting creative person because I couldn't do it normal. I had to come up with a new way. And people think, you're a genius. You came up with something normal. I had no choice. It's
agreed. And our kids do. And I say kids because our kids do. How do they do that? They're the ones that go to school with the hoodie on. They're the ones that are chewing. They're the ones with the glasses and the hats. Because I've been to those First Nation communities and you see that and they're wondering why the students are suffering from the effects of impaired central nervous system, as we know, is a byproduct, but also a superpower for your music. They know what they need and that it's against the rules to do what they need to do to regulate. That's what drives me nuts. And I could see how you're like, I'm not a kid. like I know what I'm doing, but is there any truth to her interventions have allowed you to stay in a environment longer than you normally would have? Enjoyed it a little bit more? We're
Yeah.
talking both sides, right? So I'm not saying you're not saying it.
So having a co-pilot with the awesome capabilities of Kate Kristiansen, not from love, but in mind, body, spirit, absolutely is empowering. And it's weird because it's not what do we talk about?
Co-regulation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
You
also
say codependency, it is co-regulation.
Yeah.
It's a nervous system sync. And if you just look at it like that, then, and you keep the personality out of it, then there's less ego involved.
Yeah.
That's all. It's so there are certain situations, Reinier, where her nervous system, it can handle a place better. You might have to go to this place. You sync nervous systems, which means you accept interdependence. I bet you there's a million times, sir, where she is plugged into yours in a social situation. And I bet you've helped her be more creative because you make zany normal and it not zany weird. I'm right. Yeah. See, I told you I knew him, dude. And not because you're easy, but you are complex. You fought for a lot of years, dude. And now, yeah, we're talking about you because it's the FASD Success Show. And I'm curious in how your partner creates success with you because the success is everywhere. But what about the parents who have the adult kiddos who are where you were when you were 40, who are where you were when you were 30? We're not playing being whimsical. That's a lifetime ago. So let's go from get that mindset. How do parents keep the faith during those times? Because look at you, dude. Look at you. And you recognize it, and she recognizes it, and we're feeling it. But that's a long time. So how do we tell them to fucking hang on?
I was just going to say that's the hardest part of doing advocacy work from where I am, because I've got some great associates out here like you and RJ, and
we're going to do the shameless self-promotion next. So we'll get into
absolutely, and we'll get you in there.
No, it's a segment. It's a segment. Yeah.
So oh, great.
Yeah.
But
because
the thing is,
anyway,
these are all people that have been in the world with the FASD world. And I am just so in awe of their ability to support people in it. What's my point?
How did they hang on, pal? How? Because that's 65, right? They think like they have compassion fatigue. It's like they've been working so hard, and it's different than burnout. They don't see the light.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. And so I think the beauty is taking what you know and what Kate knows. We could help relationships nurture some stability that way, but they're gassed. So this is where you can get as deep as you want or not, but how do they hang on? Because clearly it's worth it.
So do
you want me to go to Kate first? Because I have a question for her.
Yeah, go ahead.
No problem.
Yeah, I just want to address this real quickly, though, that I learned on that talk I gave in Sioux Falls that one time, the first real time I ever took to the stage as an advocate. What blew my mind was I wasn't sure if I said things right or not, but the parents, caregivers coming up after and saying, I don't care what you said. The fact that you could get up there and be there as an adult on the spectrum gives me hope, only based on your existence.
Yes, sir.
Mind.
Yes, they see. And because you know what the shitty research out there about the lifespan being 34 or whatever, it's dog shit, the shitty research, because it comes up in ours all the time. But here's an actual man who is living interdependently and successful. Yes, there's so much clout, and there's allowed to be a little ego in that because how life is so hard. You made it, man. So I would definitely, I know you bring all this humility and I know the gratitude, but you're allowed. I think I made it, damn it. When there was no diagnosis, nobody knew shit. Like, you made it. So there's power in that. And you're fun. And you're a good person. And your flaws, your challenges, your idiosyncrasies because of the disability just gives us an insight. Yeah. Because we don't think like you, and It's just some of the things you said were still profound. I'm like, okay. So it checks us. And the only way it's to check us is sometimes to talk about you in the room.
Yeah. And go ahead.
In a dignity way, not with you, not
I get
about
it.
you. So I could see where it's weird, but I'm coming from as a friend and curious.
And to be
yeah.
clear, for the record, I'm in a very comfy space with you guys. It's weird that Kate's upstairs over top of me.
Yeah.
Yeah. We did
So
that
I'm
for
gonna come
audio
back to
reasons.
the-
We're
I'm
not
gonna come
having a
back.
problem.
I'm going to come back, but Kate, I'm going to ask you that same question. Okay. Relationships take work. It's safe to say having a relationship with an individual takes work, both externally and internally. He's clearly looking awesome and looking healthy. You got lots of years left. Have you thought about what this looks like long term and between you and him? And what does that look like in your mind's eye?
Oh, I think that's a question for any relationship. So I don't look too far ahead. But we're in a committed relationship. As Reinier said, we own a house. We have 2 dogs together, and this is our life. And the question I have had for Reinier, and I've said this to him numerous times, is I don't want to force fit you into this neurotypical life. That is not my job to do. And even though I look around and go, man, we've got a really great life, this may not be a really great life for him, but in his
I want he might need to run.
Yeah.
He might need to. No, dude, remember that one time you wore that thing in your head and you were playing the keyboard? I fucking laughing. But he might need to do that in the living, and that's allowed. So I know what you mean, the domestic, right? Because that's structure and there's things and it could be boring, all those things. Okay, keep going.
Yeah, so I definitely think, as Reinier alluded to, we've had a lot of change in the past 3 years. And the one thing I love about Reinier is his energy. So he and I both are supersonic when it comes to getting, I guess, nailing challenging circumstances and thresholds. Like any relationship has to do. I said to Reinier, I'm like, we've been together for 4 years and it feels like 44, but in a good way, because
I know. Yep.
We've sold a house together. We've moved provinces. We've done more in 4 years.
Yes, you've bonded. You cut through the crap. So there's more time for the attachment. Right. Yeah. And not the ambiguousness and the gaslighting and the fucking, am I doing it? Yes, I get it.
Yes. Yeah. So we nailed that right from the beginning, that we wanted truth and trust in that. But sometimes I would say that you hit on something, the big nerve, when you said some of the parents are feeling like they're tapped out with their compassion, because there's times too where I feel really tapped out, that I'm like, okay, I can't talk to him about that skill because that's an expectation that actually he's not going to be able to meet. Yeah. But yet Reinier exceeds on so many other levels, which is why I stay.
You know what you're explaining right now? You're talking about the scattered profile. And that is unique to FASD, because in the brain domains, could be in the 99th percentile in one. And then in another, he could be in the 5th or 6th, or even in the 1st percentile. But the strengths are so strong that it's a assumed competence in all areas of brain. And so he speaks so well. He talks normal, he looks the good engaging. He just brings you in, and then we're going to keep all these faces you're making. And
I'm counting on it, buddy. I'm giving you my best.
We're on the same length. To do this well, it takes lots of energy. Same from him. It's just different. And I appreciate what you're saying, because compassion fatigue is real. So that's why I'm like, even by virtue of you making it to this age, you made it with everything. And that's why I like to put you on a pedestal, and then they hear you speak. That's what they're saying. And I was there for your first time. It was neat to see you, and you're like, I can't believe we're in the plan. We're doing this. I believe we're going to get a paycheck to talk about this. Yeah, you're like, I'm just talking about my life. And I just beside him going, yep, that's it, buddy. And I got to see him experience all this stuff. And you've got such a long way to go too, dude. Okay, so we're doing this shameless self-promotion.
I look good. I mean, really good. Hey, everyone! Come and see how good I look.
Okay, and so now you're working with our good friends at Fetal Alcohol Nova Scotia, our good friends Ellen Muntford and Rochelle Hewlett, Roland too, and I'm going to have to say the boy's name because her son, Aaron, did a podcast with me, and he spoke so good. So I know them. I know the gang. I've been out east. And so how did this merger happen? Because it was hilarious to get, like, it was cool to get an email from you talking about Alan. And there's only 3 people in the world that call me Jeffrey, and Alan Mumford is one of them. And it's totally fine. So give us that story.
The story of meeting Alan and getting involved with FANS or Fetal Alcohol Nova Scotia, when I had moved out to Nova Scotia, and this is a whole sidebar we'll get into some other time, but for the first year I was out here, I didn't really do any advocacy work. I really went back to my neurotypical
Yep. Just
mission,
getting situated.
just getting stuff done. But I bumped into just a couple friends online from the old FASD folks back in Ontario. I communicate with RJ and a couple other folks out there.
Yeah, RJ Formanek, we love him. Yeah.
Formanek, he's an awesome red shoe wearing man.
Okay.
And anyways, the point is that something came up about, oh yeah, there's this thing in Nova Scotia, this organization. And so I started digging around and I found FANS, and then I saw this Alan Mumford was heading it out here. That name sounds familiar. So without going way back, go back to episode 60, whatever, about my origin story. I found out about FASD through editing videos for Queen's University in Kingston, Ontario, their neuroscience department.
That's right.
One of the first dudes I edited was Alan Mumford talking at a...
And the hairdo doesn't match the voice. He needs, what you're waiting for is when, like, him to pick up like this bass guitar, right? Or an accordion or something.
No, bass guitar is accurate. I think.
Alan Mumford.
So he's awesome.
Yeah, he is great. He was a champion of mine. And when I knew this is something I wanted to do, he let me go to a talk with him, and I live tweeted it for him. So to see, anyways, keep going. We love the man.
That's right. I was blessed to actually watch him do that just yesterday, literally here in Liverpool, Nova Scotia. Wow. And he knows his stuff, and he's got a heart much bigger than
soft too, right? Like you're like
brilliant speaker.
Yeah, he could talk you into. He has talked all kinds of things. Just kidding. Keep going.
So he's great. So anyways, I've ended up being we call me at FANS I'm just reading it because I never get it right. The Lived Experience Communications Coordinator. Okay. So basically, I've helped them get a podcast going, and the first 3 podcasts are up on air.
Okay, pray tell. So here's what we have to stop here. And then, so when we're talking about it, how do they find the podcast?
Great. So you can get to their podcast on the FANS website, which is FASDNS.ca. So Fetal Alcohol Spectrum Disorder, Nova Scotia, FASDNS.ca. And up in the little menus, you'll see podcasts. And if you hit that, you'll be able to get to our first 3. We've got more coming. The other thing we just did 2 days ago was launched our very first newsletter to over 400 people.
Oh,
so that's very exciting.
Got to start with one, baby.
Yeah, with Rochelle Howlett.
Yeah, Howlett.
And Alan and I, we call ourselves the action team, and that's what we're doing. We're trying to. Nova Scotia's behind in the sense of comparing it, let's say, to Ontario with the Health Nexus.
Understood.
Yeah.
What a team, though, to be out there and making things happen.
Yeah.
How do you feel about your role in which you need input in changing so you could tell people exactly what you do? Just an insight there for you, but keep going.
Yeah. You say that question again once more.
I was going to say, ditch the name that they call you to one that you can say in a second. Okay. You need to put the Reinier touch on that. Alan Mumford. I will tell him I told you to do that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, Kate? You have to be able to say what you do. She's in communication, and it has to come from you. What is it do you do? And put your spin on it. And that's when people will get it. Because one of the cool things about you, dude, is even when you explain something, I'm like, oh, I get it, right? Even though it's cool. Okay.
Yeah.
So this podcast, what is the aim? What is your vision for it? And I know you have other people with you, but what do you see you're doing with this?
With the FANS folk?
Yeah. You got the podcast. What's your vision for your part?
My part is the biggest challenge out here, and I found it in Ontario, but out here it's a little more prevalent, is people just don't get even the top layer or 2 of what FASD is. The awareness is so pitifully bad, and even in medical circles and things like that. And there's just no way anybody on the spectrum is going to have any support if people around them don't even get that it exists to start. And secondly, giving them some basic tools from the idea that, bad behavior is not a bad behavior. It's a symptom. You're looking at a symptom, like getting people
So
understand.
so do you have a little bit of the curse of knowledge, not only from your understanding, but your lived experience? Yeah,
A
you
little
do.
bit.
You're being
Yes.
too nice. So that's okay to identify. That's the hurdle. That's where we're starting. And so you're thinking your initial is awareness, correct?
Awareness, but there's another huge thing. So those who are on the spectrum out here, because of this lack of awareness, there's a lot of hopelessness out here because there's a lot of parents out here. We've started a parent support group, and they just go, I don't know what to do. And getting them in the same room so they can talk to another person who's in the same boat, they go, oh, I'm not totally insane and having a terrible nightmare. This is actually
Yeah.
an experience that can be common.
Commiseration.
Yeah.
There's bonds and commiseration.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this before I move on to Kate's, because we'll come back to you. I don't remember what podcast number, but there was a mom of 2 boys, and she enlisted because she was in the reserves in the US, and she deployed because she said, at least in the front lines in Afghanistan, there were people to commiserate with. She wasn't shitting.
Wow.
And I know that's an extreme example, but people
No, but-
understand what I'm talking about with that. So when you talk about that, I use that to validate the hard and
Yeah.
the lonely. She would rather commiserate. At least there's people there on the front lines. So I'm just backing up what you're saying about once there's some connecting. So if I'm
And-
understanding you, you're using your position to not only bring awareness, but provide that connection for the families.
Yes. And really important here, because this comes into exactly what this podcast we're doing in this very moment. And Kate and I've talked about this, and she'll have some things to say in this, I suspect, too. But in relationships, it's really hard. I feel for Kate because she can't go to someone else right now. She doesn't know someone she can call up who's in a similar place that she can get some commiseration and support and have someone else tell her, yeah, you should be worrying about, oh, no, that's just how it is. There's no bounce back. So I think getting support for anybody dealing with,
Fair, 'cause the challenges are unique. The challenges are unique, and the stigma is unique because, again, the appearance of competence because you look normal, talk normal, and it's a lot of it's under the hood. And I just like that you're doing that, buddy. Like, what a good fit for you.
Yeah.
You're the walking hope, and I think that's awesome. But I want to talk to Kate because you're cool and all. But Kate, dude, like, what you were telling me off before we went on here, you do communications like Cirque. So tell me more about what do you?
I was going to say, yes, my work is marketing and communications, but I've also been a one-on-one spiritual director as well.
Okay.
One-on-one.
I wanted her to mention that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to plug. Good for you.
Well,
That's
but-
be shameless in your expression of it. But we will also disclaimer too, right? Let's have the appropriate disclaimer, but keep going. Yep.
Yeah, but I wanted to I was so excited, Jeff, that you invited us to do this because not to have a chance to rip Reinier apart on a podcast, but really to invite others that are in a situation where they're in a partnership with someone with FASD. If there are parents that are a little worried about how do they communicate with a partner, their son or daughter, I think as we find out, there's so many people who are on a spectrum that just find out in our 50s and 60s. We don't necessarily find out when we're 10. And sometimes, the supports aren't great even at finding out when you're 10 that you have FSD. But when you've had a lived experience of a life without the diagnosis too, it can be alarming for a married couple to find out one of them has FASD. So my invitation is that I would love to connect. Because for me, I am feeling alone. I said to Reinier, if someone's an alcoholic, one person goes to AA and the other person goes to Al-Anon. But in this situation where there's no groups necessarily that I've been aware of that have been set up for lived experience as the partner and not a caregiver. I wear that hat sometimes, but really I'm trying to be a partner and just show up in that way. So that's my invitation.
Yeah. Okay. You want people to find you? How do you want to do this? This is up to you.
Yeah,
We could leave this part blank, but then I could come back and tell people if there's something you have more structured or time to think about it, because there's no pressure.
Jeff knows people.
Well, I think that,
If this is what you
yeah,
want, Kate, and you're good at it, there doesn't have to be, I don't know what industry you're in, but there doesn't have to be strings attached to help you. And if you
yeah,
want to succeed at shit. Who's
definitely.
keeping you down, Kate?
Yeah.
Who's keeping you down? Who's doing it, Reinier?
So,
Nice life coaching there, Jeff.
and I would say too that there's obviously the good work that's being happened with fans, but also in Ontario. And I do think there is opportunity. Maybe it is Reinier and I speaking more about our partnership in ways, but I definitely would like to see a group started, or I will start it. That is fine. Any offshoot I can do to help there be a place where people can ask questions and you can talk about the experiences, because as parents, that's the biggest FASD success, is when you have someone else to share and laugh with and cry with and sort out the nonsense, because Reinier is this wondrous puzzle of a human being, which I love. And I'll never figure out the puzzle completely. And I'm pretty sure he's not going to figure out me as my puzzle either. But you have to have people to talk to and to share experiences with.
Connection over content.
Kate is she has lots of experience and she's really good at leading groups. And
Oh, you can tell. Like communication that, like, you could tell. I could tell.
Thanks for the
We had
shameless.
to break through the communications shield she had up, because I felt the sound bites coming. Next, she was going to tell me about getting pucks in deep and getting to the net. But I'm glad you opened up too. And it is in those sharing those little vulnerabilities that there's going to be 1,000 people listening and nodding in unison like that. That's why I probe in a way that want to help. Like, what's it really? Because when you say, you're right, I fucking lose my shit. I don't have it all together. You know how that makes them feel way better than seeing, like, yeah, communications, and I know, and I get it. It's hard. It's tiring. It's worth it. And it's like the black hole sometimes. Sometimes they acquire a lot. Sometimes it's little, all things considered. So it's not commiseration as in validation, because I could hear, I'm not going to post this, but I could hear that you struggle with, is it too much, or am I being too much, or is it not enough? And so to have other parents go, no, my kid needs that, or have another adult, because in our group, we have moms that have dads that they think are on the spectrum, or my moms think they're on the spectrum. That is the battle, the balance of this. I don't want to be this, but sometimes we need to really be that in order to settle the nervous system, extend something that we were looking forward to. So if you were like, I want to do this, and it's a little shaky for them, but you accommodate even more because it's a mutual thing, we could talk, right, for hours. I bet you, look at us. And this is the point. So I'll stop it here.
I was going to say, Jeff, just on that note, it's interesting because in any relationship, you're establishing your preferences, your wishes of how you balance. And as Reinier said, hey, look, I've gotten this far. I've been 56 years old without a diagnosis, and now I'm 65, and this works for me. But it works for you. It can work in a situation where you're a single man, or that single man experience isn't a partnership.
That's right.
So there's co-regulation, which I love that word. That's super paramount for any relationship.
Yeah, because it's not, oh, here, I need to regulate you.
Yeah.
Because if you're expressing, dude, I need you now, I'm assuming the individual on the spectrum does not want to always be looked at as a consumer of resources, both emotional and environmental, correct? And you like to give back and say, I got you, you're my woman, I'll protect you. It's the same, I feel.
Yeah. And I'd also follow that up with Rain does. When you look for a partner should extend you, and he really does. I think we both grow together. We've supported each other in that. And as much as my friends worried for me about dating someone with FASD, I'm sure his friends worried, hey, do you really know what you're getting into? And I've had to, when we moved, for instance, I remember saying to one of his friends, they're like, what do you do if you leave him in this situation? And I was like, well, one of the things that I know about Reinier and I is that we have each other's back. And so we have that trust in each other that we're going to do it in a way that's compassionate always. You mentioned being nervous at the beginning. It's really hard walking into a room when I know my partner's thinking, please don't trash me. And I'm thinking, This is the part where he gets to trash me too. It's a normal
So
reflection.
you met me, and then you're like, this is a trash safe zone.
This is
Because he's also a human
Yeah.
being too. And with that comes playful banter. But that also comes from knowing him. If I never knew, I
have to say something and you don't have to.
no, this is all being recorded.
No, but here's what I want to say, dude, though.
Yeah.
This is part of the challenge a bit, is that in our interview today, you just reminded me, though, what a good guy you are and that I liked you. And it was the connection we had, example, up in Sioux Falls,
Yeah.
whatever. Like, I think that's another trick sometimes in life. We get so busy, we forget actually who are good
who's got
team
our
members
back, like
and
genuinely,
friends. Yeah. And that can happen too, because we get busy. For me, I'll speak for me. I get busy surviving and trying to build a new life every couple months and upgrade it. And you forget, I forgot about this person out there. And I think that's
why
part of life.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. That's hence my reply to your email when you first said, "Hey, I'm doing this now." And yes, that's fair to say. I'm an ally guy. You're kicking ass. And we're using this to help others. So even if it's to make them feel better, give them hope. But there's lots of tangible insights you gave for sure. So I know we're going to do this again. And yeah, awesome. So guys, thanks for being here, dude. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
This has been, it's been very interesting because I, like Kate, was feeling a little bit like, oh gosh, what if this goes south? And it's, oh good, I got someone listening that I can start dumping on the other. And I'm reminded again how much I love Kate and why I love you.
Kate.
It's so easy to forget. And this is to people listening, whether you're neurotypical or not neurotypical. If you're in a relationship, we talk about in life, I always do a gratitude list, but a relationship gratitude list is so important because there's always so much good going on. But I know for me, the scary stuff gets so loud, and it might just be a little scary thing, but it still will be so much louder than these dozens of good things here going on right at that very same moment.
No, it's true. And we do talk about that other side more because this is what we're getting to, from struggle to success. And what does success mean? It doesn't mean you've achieved a level. It means you are resilient through with love, and everyone deserves it, even you, and to keep fighting for it, right? I think that's one of the big messages here. I think another big message is that you are human. You're a human being, and that is powerful. And that it would be tough for people to talk about you because it's a different experience for them and they love you. And I could see how shields up a bit because I don't know you as a boy getting yelled at in school for stuff now that's no big deal. And I can see that's a lot of years of work you put in, dude. I see that. At the end of the day, I want people who listen and watch this to also know that. Okay? They don't have that context of me and you having a good time in all those places. Kate, lovely to meet you. And I bet you this isn't going to be the last. But for sure, you're cool. If someone's cool, they're cool. And you definitely are. And that's the best thing. You could be cool and be crazy in your own way. And as long as we know we separate the brain from the personality and inherently good. And yeah, you guys are great examples. Even if it's messy sometimes, you guys are still there. So thank you.
Just a little messy.
So thanks for doing this, guys.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.